Welcome to Figures Podcast. In today's episode, we will be talking to Trey and Jonna Buchert, owners of Dude DeWalt Cellars. I'm your host, Chris Jones. We're here at Dude DeWalt. We're learning a little bit about the wine and the winemaking process, and we have a really special guest we'd like to interview. If you don't mind telling us a little bit about yourself, that'd be great.
I'm Jonna. I'm the winemaker and owner with my husband Trey of Dude DeWalt.
So you guys got into winemaking and you have a legal background, correct?
I do.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
I graduated from the University of Idaho School of Law in 1988 and went to University of Washington. Had an undergrad in accounting.
Oh,
so
wow.
Nothing to do with wine.
Sure. So, but you must have had a passion for wine, or how did that come about?
Really not until after our kids were out of high school. And I really wish I would have learned about wine beforehand, because it might have been a much more relaxing experience for me.
Sure.
However, we waited till they were really out of high school before we started the hobby of winemaking.
So you guys moved here in 2003, is that correct?
We moved here in 1994.
Oh, wow, okay. So what prompted the move?
Well, my husband works for a company called Key Technology. They make food processing equipment out of Walla Walla, which, as you know, is a pretty big wine industry area. When we left Walla Walla, there were only 3 wineries there, Le Cole, Woodward Canyon, and Leonetti. Those are the only 3. So he still continues to this day to work for that company, which is headquartered out of Walla Walla. So over the last 20 years, we have been back and forth to Walla Walla on a regular basis, and really that is the inspiration for where all of this interest came from, because we've watched what's happened in Walla Walla, watched our friends who really began working with Key Technology, but then branched out into winemaking and growing vineyards, and so that, I won't lie, that's a big inspiration for how we ended up where we are with our hobbies.
That's great. So you guys started up the business, and with your legal background, I'm assuming that helped you quite a bit?
Sure. There's a lot of, when you get into the wine business, there's a lot of licensing and a lot of legal requirements. There are permits. Whenever you embark on a business that sells or is related to alcohol in any way, the feds are involved, the states are involved, the county is involved in, of course, making your facility and getting that process approved and through before you can ever start work.
Sure. So obviously winemaking in this valley is fairly new, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And given that it's so new, I'm assuming that some of the regulation had to change in order to support your guys' effort. Is that correct?
Well, I think I would say that the regulations here locally are still fairly archaic and need some revisions. I work with a group called the Eagle Foothills Grape Growers Association, and it is our goal to file an ordinance change, and with that we would hope to change some of the regulations that would make it easier for wineries and just tasting rooms to exist, and for people to grow vineyards here, making this much more of a wine community.
Okay, so you're actually involved in, kind of promoting the entire wine community.
We really are.
Okay, so I've been told that growing grapes and doing the whole winery thing is more of a community project, and you guys work together as opposed to compete. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I think probably the best example of that is that when we went for our initial planning and zoning application to have this winery, we were supported greatly by the community. Our planning and zoning hearing was filled with people from the wine community that really wanted to support us and really wanted to see this community grow in the way of wine. That just fueled the fire for us and encouraged us to, again, encourage others. We help others when we can, and people do support each other in this community.
Perfect. Can you tell me some of the unique challenges that you ran into when you got this thing up off the ground? At least a story or something.
Oh, well, from the business standpoint, first of all, this is a new industry that we're embarking on. We are business people. We have run businesses in the past, but we haven't really ever ran a wine business.
Sure.
and it's an entirely different animal. People in this community are very excited about wine. We have a large group of people from California that are moving here who have had wine in their lives and are now coming to look for wine here. And really all they want is a good product. And so in that way, the community is really starting to embrace, as our community continues to evolve, the community is really embracing wine, and particularly locally to Eagle, Idaho. So we have a large group of people moving right here, and they want something close by. Did that answer your question?
It absolutely did. Okay. So one of the things I'm really excited to learn about, partially because I don't know a ton about it, is your actual winemaking, the process of it, and some of the challenges that you guys had getting it up and running.
Wow. The number one challenge in starting any winery business is capital. You have so many pieces of equipment, your building, your barrels, your racks. I mean, it goes on. The list goes on and on. I had another local friend here that said, "Hey, are you ready to get your checkbook out? Really, because you just write checks for a long time." And that is really true, because initially the startup costs to this business are quite a barrier to entry for some, but I would still encourage people to do that. I really want to encourage people, if you can't just do, if you don't want to go so far as to open a winery, plant a vineyard, try a tasting room. We want to encourage everyone in this business to continue to see the wine community grow here. I would say that that's the biggest. The capital expenditures are the biggest barrier to entry in this market.
Sure, as with any business, right? They want to see you make money before they'll lend you money. So
right, and land in the community is expensive.
Makes sense. So you guys have some very unique wines, I've noticed, and you were talking a little bit earlier about your hazy wine. Can you tell me a little bit about that and why you guys chose to do that?
Well, so the Hazy Simeon is really sort of for the men. Okay. I mean, not exclusively, but we had the Hazy IPA, and it just sounded, we wanted to offer an unfiltered wine, and a wine that is kind of true to our region. I mean, if you read our website, we say, hey, we're true to our region. We want to offer something that's unique, and we're sort of rough here at Dude DeWalt. And maybe the unfiltered wine isn't something that you might see in a California tasting room, for example, but we think it fits what we're doing here. We're sort of rough and rugged, and I think there's a lot of flavor in a Simeon that has that is hazy and is not a filtered wine. And so we've chosen to put that on the menu. It is unique, and you probably won't find it anywhere else.
Well, it's really good. One of the things that surprised me is there wasn't a lot of sediment in it. You'd assume that would be the case. Why is that? It
just automatically, gravity, in your barrels pulls that sediment to the bottom, and then you rack it off. By racking off, I mean you siphon it out of one barrel into another container, and then you use that container and siphon it back into a clean barrel. And you do that over a period of time. Gravity naturally will make that wine clearer.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So you guys also do some very unique things for the community itself, and one of them that I noticed was you made a wine called the Thin Blue Line. Can you tell me about that and why you guys chose to do that?
You bet. Actually, that is, I have to give credit to Cryptek. Cryptek is an organization that, a business that sells camouflage equipment, provides camouflage gear to our Idaho SWAT teams, and their daughter came to work for us last summer, unbeknownst to us because we didn't know the family. As we get to talking to them more, we learned that they support the military, wanted to see whether we would be interested in supporting the military through making a label with them that supported the SWAT, Idaho SWAT teams, and of course we said absolutely. And so we've developed the Thin Blue Line, and Cryptek was really responsible for promoting it. And we donate $5 for every bottle.
That's great. So it sounds like you guys are supporting the community, and in doing so, I'm assuming that people are very interested in that particular label.
There are. You won't believe how many people there are who are ex-law enforcement in the area who like the idea.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about the wine itself, because I'm really interested in that. Earlier you were talking about some of the pH and the balances and this sort of thing, and I'm not super educated on that. So if you could tell me a little bit about how that wine is made and what you're doing to push the boundaries there, I'd be very interested.
Well, so we're a boutique winery. By that I mean a smaller scaled winery. And what we're trying to do here are big, bold reds. That will be our focus. I really like to have, when you come in, I want the experience of a big, nice, spicy, bold red. You know, that is what I like the most, and that is what I will attempt to provide. So the pHs that I'm looking at are approximately, 3.8 to 4.0. That's where I find that most of my clients like that. In order to do that, however, it takes more sulfites to preserve the wine. Not something I really want to put a lot into our wines. So I have been pushing the limits, I would say, on trying to do this with less sulfites. Our wine is going out of the winery at a quick rate. It is being consumed quickly. Under those circumstances, you don't have to worry a whole lot about too much spoilage. But if anybody is going to lay these wines down, yes, those wines need more sulfites and more preservatives in them over a longer period of time. So I would just caution anybody who's drinking high pH wines to drink them early.
So, okay, perfect. Is there anything special that you want to tell me about Dieu DeWalt or some of your experiences that we may have missed?
I would say just starting this winery during COVID in the middle of May, right when it hit, we didn't have a grand opening. We were not able to have a grand opening. We were just open, and here's curbside pickup, and so we still have not had a grand opening. Despite that, this business has been a surprise. It's been everything and more that we thought it would be. We've been able to sales have exceeded what we thought they would be. Again, we were dipping a toe to learn more about this business, and whether or not it could be something we would want to do long term.
So when you guys started the winery, did you expect to have such a cult following? Because to me, that's what it seems like. I mentioned to your husband that the first time that I came here, I was really just interested in the name, and then I saw all the people here, and I was shocked at how many people were really enjoying just hanging out and getting to know one another. And then I had the wine, and that was a whole nother experience. So can you tell me what exactly you guys were going for when you did that?
What you see is what you get with Dieu DeWalt. This tasting room was actually our chicken coop at one point.
Okay.
We remodeled it with the help of my daughter-in-law, who has some great vision about what she wants to see in here. And we just continued to go with the idea of old meets new, little historic. The history that's built into Dieu DeWalt, it's local urban, it'll become local urban legend, right? As you know. I think people just come here and meet people. They meet people from the neighborhoods in California that they grew up in, and they just come, they like to be outside. During the summers, we have great views. We have a great location. You can see the sunsets. It's just an area where people seem to enjoy. What we were going for, I guess we were just dipping a toe to see whether or not this would be something people would like. And I don't know, you tell me what you like when you come here.
Yeah, no problem. So one of the things that I really enjoyed about coming here was actually, like I said, the community. I mean, I sat down, I was on a date actually. I sat down at one of the tables up here, and I got to know like 3 or 4 people who consequently I provided my phone number to, and they've actually called me since. And I thought, wow, that's really unique. And you guys have a food, a small food, offering. So it was easy for me to sit and hang out and try all the wines without feeling like I needed to leave.
We encourage that. We encourage people. We have lots of people that come and they'll stay all afternoon, with a family or a friend, and they're celebrating birthdays. They're celebrating life, really. And we get that a lot. And we encourage it and we love it.
Well, that's perfect. Well, I appreciate the time today. I obviously love your winery. I hope a lot of other people get to enjoy it in the future.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
All right, cheers.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.